Okay, guys, so I'll probably just do this later, but hello, YouTube. How he is? Everyone in the chat, say hello, wave to the chat. I'm cringing. Anyway, so what's going on? I'm here live on Twitch with some beautiful jazz music. I don't even need to play jazz music anymore because YouTube stream is turned off. I don't need to worry about copyright anyway. Alex, that's just a lovely way to start the video, isn't it? You know what? Alex, banned. Anyway... Hi, this is my top 10 albums of the year. I'm going to do some honorable mentions first though, which I have a lot of. So if YouTube chat wants to put in some honorable mentions that they have, because it'll be interesting to see my honorable mentions compared to yours. So if people have like a very notable honorable mention that would be outside of their top 10 albums, but it's still a good album, because this year was ridiculous. I did over 100 and what is this fucking Wii golf music that I'm listening to right now? Anyway, sorry. So I uploaded, I think, over 120 videos, album reactions to Patreon/YouTube throughout 2023, which is obviously a lot of albums. Not all of those albums are from 2023, but I would say maybe a good 60%, 50%. So we're talking 50 or 60 albums, maybe 40, 50 albums. I don't know. I'm completely just making numbers up at this point, but we checked out a lot of albums from 2023. So there's obviously going to be a lot of fantastic albums outside of my top 10 that you guys are going to be like, where, I didn't see my album in the top 10. Shut up. My 2023 number one honorable mention, The Ocean, Holocene. Okay, that's an honorable mention. Fantastic album. Heard it when it first came out. It actually dropped on the day that Taking Back to Eden dropped, which is just the most unfortunate situation you could possibly ask for as a band. But I still checked it out and it was a really, really solid album. Stellar Circuits, Sight to Sound. Johnny Booth, Moments Elsewhere. Stephen Wilson, The Harmony Codex. Harkla, The Living Mountain. Veil of Maya, Mother. It looks like I'm taking a selfie here. Spirit Box, The Fear of Fear. That's kind of an EP, doesn't really count, ignore that one. Chelsea Grin, Suffer in Heaven. Also kind of like a split album EP kind of thing, but still fantastic. Catatonia, Sky Void of Stars. Just check it out, do yourself a favor. And then Gideon, More Power, More Pain. They're the albums that I have in my top 10, or not my top 10, Jesus. Video over, guys. They're my honorable mentions before we get into the top 10. How we put honorable mentions and not spell top 10. Big round of applause for Reset for that sentence. Well done, Reset. You've literally got one letter wrong and I'm going to absolutely destroy you for it. So, well done. Spell. Let me get a dictionary for that one. Yep, doesn't exist. Number 10 on the list goes to an album that is arguably one of the heaviest albums that has ever been created in the history of humankind. Do we have any guesses in the chat, please? Awkward stream delay. Awkward. Well, that was quick. Jesus. What the fuck? You lot are like in my room. How was that so quick? I was expecting like a 5-second stream delay. It is Humanity's Last Breath, Ashen. And this is the part of the video where it goes like... and then something heavy happens, you know? But it's kind of awkward on Twitch because that doesn't happen, so... You thought that that's just what happened in real life, that I said something and then music plays after it. You probably thought that. But this is actually what happens when I record my videos. I go, Humanity's Last Breath, Ashen, and then I just go like this. Scroll through Instagram for a little bit. My reasoning for number 10, because I know some people are going to be like, ah, shut up! It's probably the only reason I think it gets onto this list for me, because honestly, I've listened to it like twice. I've gone back to the singles quite a lot, but as an album, it is far too heavy for me to listen to. But it is one of the most unique albums I think I've ever heard in my life. It is, of course, one of the heaviest, if not the heaviest album I think I'll ever hear. It just doesn't get much heavier than that. The dissonance, the atmosphere throughout the entire album is fucking insane. But as an album, an entire piece of work, of course, there is amazing singles on it that, again, Labyrinthine was my breakdown of the year. My entire breakdown of the year list was like mostly Humanity's Last Breath. But I think it's fair to say that we can have opinions about particular songs, but understand that those songs in an album format can also just not be the most appealing thing. So I will pick out like a song or two from Humanity's Last Breath to listen to when I feel like destroying my office, and it's perfect for that environment. But if I want to, you know, feel like I'm being subjected to being in a car crash for an hour, I will listen to Ashen, which is obviously something I never want to do. So it's just, for me, the reason it gets the number 10 slot is I do appreciate how amazing it is as a piece of work, and like I look at Ashen as more of an artistic piece as opposed to like something I want to go back to more. It's like I've listened to it. It's like if I go see the Mona Lisa in like, where the fuck is that, in France or some shit? I go and look at it and I'm like, wow, I can appreciate this, but I'm not going to go back next year. You know what I mean? Like, I've fucking seen it now. If I want to see it again, I'll look it up on Google. I guess the equivalent to that is like, I'll listen to Humanity's Last Breath Ashen once, and then I'll like go and watch loads of reviews on YouTube about it. But I'm not going to like go and listen to it myself again. You know what I mean? I'll watch reactions to it because I want to see other people's opinions on it. But I don't know where this whole like thing is going. But number 10 slot is Humanity's Last Breath Ashen. Number 9 on the list goes to a band that has featured in quite a few of my like Chorus of the Year videos, my Song of the Year videos, and my Breakdown of the Year videos. It is an album that I had full expectations to be one of my like top 5, if not top 3 albums, which says quite a lot because obviously this year was so stacked with albums. When the singles were dropping, I was like, this is gonna be like top 3. But when the album dropped, dare I say I was slightly underwhelmed. Am I allowed to say that? Does that give it away? I think it does. Number 9 album of the year is Silent Planet, Super Bloom. And then back to my phone, scroll Instagram for a bit. Yeah, hate this job. I just didn't resonate with it as much as I would have liked to, but it's still a fucking number 9 album of the year. It's in the top 10, you know what I mean? I know that's obviously going to be annoying for some people, but at the end of the day, that's all I hear when I see comments like, why isn't this there? This is literally the audible experience that I get in my brain when I see a comment complaining about why my album is not, their favorite album is not in my top 10. That's literally all I see here. What? Number 8 on my list goes to, I think this is going to be the most surprising one on the list for my number 8 slot. Definitely the most surprising, because if you guys watched my video yesterday, you're going to be like, what? And again, I'm open to this changing at some point, and I think maybe it might, but right now, if I have to just take it on this day, because we're already 5 days over the like limit of 2023, it's Tesseract, War of Being. I know. Everyone chill out, all right? I had 3 Tesseract songs in my top 10 song of the year, but I think I'm trying to highlight the fact that, well, I'm not intentionally doing this, but this highlights the fact that you can enjoy certain singles and really, really enjoy certain singles, but the album as a cohesive piece of work just doesn't work as well as some of those singles as their own projects, if that makes sense. You know, like, it's not, again, anything that's in this list is a phenomenal album. That is the main thing I want to get across here, because people are going to be like, how is it number 8? But like, this year has been stacked. You guys all know this. But just the album as a whole still hasn't hit me the way I've been hit by their previous albums. There's some songs in it that I'm not the biggest fan of. I know a lot of people were expecting me to put The Grey in my Chorus of the Year, but I just didn't really fuck with that. And I went out of my way to listen to The Grey. I literally downloaded Tesseract's beta version of their game to go and listen to The Grey as soon as I possibly could. Like, I'm a massive Tesseract fan. Like, my entire wall is like Tesseract album. The 4 Tesseract albums behind me here. Like, this is coming from the point of view of someone who loves this band, but they do go at my number 8 spot because I didn't love this album as much as I loved and appreciated the next albums on my list, which brings me on to my number 7 slot, which we have a band that I guess is quite closely linked to Tesseract. It's quite fitting to have them next on the list. This is a band that I mentioned that I've been sleeping on massively based on their latest album, which of course came out in this year. It is a band that is fully instrumental, but had a fuck ton of features that brought this whole project to life. I listened to it a couple weeks back, so maybe it's this like, you know, recency bias that I'm like really enjoying this album, but honestly, you know, it was hard to leave it out of the top 10, put it that way. I would sooner go back to a lot of the singles off of Tesseract's album, but as an album, as a full project, Earthside's Let the Truth Speak is definitely a more cohesive piece of work, in my opinion, that just flows better. It's mental how long it is. It's 1 hour and 17 minutes long, but it is absolutely beautiful. Again, number 7 slot is Earthside, Let the Truth Speak. Yeah, Earthside's Let the Truth Speak is fantastic. Again, fully instrumental band, but the album is filled with features, so it's not like an instrumental album from start to finish. I think they describe themselves as like progressive rock, or no, cinematic rock music, which is a very good way of describing themselves, to be honest. But they do have like a metal flair to them in certain moments. But for me, what sells it is like the big features on it. Like we have Daniel Tompkins, we have Kennedy Chibakabinko, whatever his name is. I'm not attempting it, but the guy who won the something X Factor or some shit, that feature track, the title track of the album, is amazing. So I was like, that was kind of what got me into listening to the album in the first place, because I'd heard the single when it dropped for the title track, and I was like, okay, this is like really, really cool. And then I went back and checked out the full album, and then Who We Lament, Denial's Aria or Aria was my number 10 track of the year as well. It's so gorgeous, it's insane. And just in general, it's just a really fun album from start to finish. Very fond memories of listening to it on stream with the rest of you guys who were there. My number 6 album of 2023 goes to a band that I had heard an album of theirs earlier this year, and I liked a lot of the songs. I added a lot of the songs to my playlist. I think it was like 8 or 9 songs out of like the 10 or 11, 12 tracks that they had in the album. I don't know exactly the length track wise, but they brought out a new album pretty recently, and I was very much so sold on it. Very much so sold on it. I thought it was a fucking fantastic performance from a guitar standpoint. Production was pretty unique, I'm not gonna lie. It had like a raw sound, but also sounded very, very modern and crisp at the same time. They like pulled off something that was kind of a paradox in itself, because the guitars are ridiculously raw, but the mix sounds clean and the vocals are all really clean. My 2023 number 6 position for album of the year goes to Unprocessed and Everything in Between. Well, you carry my heart. But yeah, that album is very, very fun. It is 38 minutes long, so it doesn't beat around the bush, because in certain parts they definitely go around the whole like going a bit too technical at points, and I'm like, it doesn't need to be this technical. It's a fucking phenomenal album. It kind of does the technical stuff and gives you a moment to be like, what the fuck? But then it kind of goes back to very, very relatable and understandable song structure with huge choruses that like brings you back down to this like coherent feeling, if that makes sense. So I understand what's going on. Then they might like slap you in the face a little bit with some like fucking mad weird guitar technique that I've never heard before in my life, and you kind of like get your brain stimulated again. You're like, whoa, that sounds cool. But it's not like they're doing it for the entire album, because if they just sat there like their guitars for an entire album, I'd be like, right, bin that. But it's like a really nice, like they kind of experiment here and there with like fondling the guitars, and then they go back to big choruses, and then they also go really heavy as well, which is really, really fun. It has a real like heavy distortion to it that is kind of cool when it mixes with the really like soaring, uplifting choruses. So my number 6 album is Unprocessed and Everything in Between. Number 5. Okay, now this is where it gets kind of hard, because I this is like remember I was talking about at the start of the stream that I was like, don't know if this is gonna, like, I just don't know. I don't know how I feel about this ordering right now, and I feel like this is the part where I get like a lot of hate for this. It's not hate, it's just people being annoying. But this is the part where it kind of becomes like, woo, people are not gonna be happy about this one. I don't know. But we'll see. You know what? I'll just say it. It's not even this part. It's the kind of parts that follow. But number 5 album of the year for me in 2023. This rhymes. Can I keep it going? We'll see. Oh, last album was And Everything in Between. That kind of rhymes. Anyway, sorry. Number 5. Polaris, Vitalism. Why did I do the Aussie accent? There was no need. Metalcore done fantastic. Just metalcore done so goddamn well. I mean, some people are going to be like, it's just metalcore album. It's just another metalcore album. But man, they do the whole like angry, pissed off, like scream at you before a breakdown. Like just shit we've heard a million times over. But it's just some of the funnest, angriest, kind of like has a Rage Against the Machine vibe to it. I don't know what it is. It's like the way when I first started hearing Rage Against the Machine years ago, like just that anger, that like, you know, stick it to the man vibe, if that's the way I want to describe. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's just a fantastic album. It has such fun choruses. Like some of the hooks in that album are just like, I was genuinely about to deep throat my microphone there. Like, I thought about that for a split second just to try and get across how much I enjoy the choruses, but then I was like, do not do that because I'll be clipped into oblivion. So I'm not going to do that. But that's the kind of like, that's where my brain was going there, just to give you some insight into how much I enjoy that album. It's not a perfect album by any stretch, but I think all in all, the songs on it that make it up, it's very listenable from start to finish. Not some of my, some songs are a little bit on the miss side for me, but I think as an album as a whole, I would happily go back to that album at any point. Maybe partly to do with the fact that I met the guys during the year and they were like the nicest people I've ever met in my life. They're so fucking sound. But I did try to take that out of the equation and just look at it objectively and say, you know, although they were really cool, I'd have no problem with putting them in like the 10 spot or not even in the list. They would at least be an honorable mention at some point. But I figured based on the other tracks and like how much I actually want to go back to them, because it's not the most technical album in the world. There's obviously albums that I've mentioned already, like even number 6, that is more technical than that, but it's not all about technique. You know, if music is good, it's good. And I think for what Polaris were trying to achieve in that album, they fucking smashed it. Number 5 is Polaris, Fatalism. Number 4 on my album of the year list goes to a band that, how do I see, this is why I probably should have like planned this a little bit better, because I don't know how I'm going to like introduce this album. But this album, I feel like, has gotten so much negative feedback. It kind of, I had to go back to it a few times to listen to it and just try and put myself in the perspective of someone who doesn't like it. And no matter what way I tried to look at it, I just couldn't really find a way to completely write it off of my top 10. And obviously not even just top 10, my number 4 slot for album of the year. This album is so fun for me. The singles started to drop last year, so obviously there was one or two singles that were not included in my 2023 roundups, which a lot of people gave me a lot of annoying feedback about. Why is this song not here? Well, you're an idiot. It came out last year, so that's why it's not in the list for 2023. If you haven't already guessed it, my number 4 album of the year position goes to none other than the most not slept on band, because they did fantastic this year. I just think there's just been a community of people that have just decided to hate it, and I kind of get it to a certain extent, but the critiques about it are not strong enough for me to write it off as much as other people have. It's a fucking phenomenal album. I really enjoyed it. It's Currents, The Death We Seek, number 4. Who's seen that one coming? Who's seen that one coming? Currents in the chat with the dab. Let's go. I just dabbed in 20. We're into the business end of my list, lads, and I guess we have 3 left to talk about. My number 3 slot goes to a band that, again, I've only become familiar with this year due to my lovely people on Discord. If you haven't joined Discord yet, I'm going to get a little YouTube plug in here for the Discord. If you haven't joined Discord yet, the link will be in the description. Just click the link and it'll pull you straight in. We almost have 500 members there, so get involved. But I wouldn't have known about this project if it wasn't for Discord hounding me every single day. Just like, Drew, get onto this album, get onto this album, get onto this album, get onto this album. And I was like, lads, anytime you tell me about an album this consistently, it ends up being a disappointment. But they were not wrong. There was a select few people in the Discord that were just hounding me about it. Fully instrumental album, which is, you know, again, like, different to the Earthside album, because Earthside are a fully instrumental band, but they had features on it, which made it, you know, sound like a more traditional album that would be in a top 10 list. But this album defies all the rules. It defies every single rule possible. It's an instrumental album that kept my attention from start to finish. It's the first part of a 2-part series, so there's gonna be 2024 to look forward to with another album. My number 3 slot is Night Versus. Every Sound Has a Color in the Valley of Night, Part 1. Any surprises there? I love that album so much. It is so fucking fun. I liked every single track in it. There's only 7 songs on it. Again, another part of it is that it's 33 minutes long. So for an instrumental album, if it goes too long, it kind of gets to the point where you're like, right, lads, wrap it up. It's a technical album, but it thrives a lot more on feel for me. It's not about the technique, although the technique is there, the guitars and everything, and the drumming is absolutely insane. For me, the selling point of this album is the melody, the emotion in some of the instrumentals. Like, the way they use melody in some of the lead guitar work is just like I sing along to the melody of the leads as if it's actually singing. Like, you know what I mean? I sing a lot. Like, I'm like for Arrival, and like even some of the breakdowns, I'm like humming it in my, like I've never sung along to an instrumental album like this before in my life. So fucking good. Again, it knows when to get in and get out. I think them splitting the album in two was the best decision they could possibly make, because if they continued on, you know, I think it maybe would just get a little, like, I think the longer they go with that, I think it would just end up being a bit like too much. But also the only slight problem I have with the album, and it's not even a problem, and the reason why it probably doesn't go number 2, is the last track on the album is 5 minutes long. It's the number 7 track. Up until that point, I'd liked every single track on the album being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's how numbers work, Drew. Don't need to explain that these numbers come before 7, but you never know. The last track on the album features Justin Chancellor from Tool, and I was really excited to hear that one because I was getting so many Tool vibes throughout the album. But then the last track just kind of felt like it was a wasted feature. Like, Justin was on the feature as I was like, this is going to be a huge outro. Justin, bass player from Tool. I've heard the Tool influence throughout. Yeah, I just felt like the last track in the album kind of let it down. It's not a bad track by any stretch, but it's 5 minutes long. It's like an instrumental outro, which the whole thing is an instrumental, so that doesn't surprise anyone. But just because of the like big name feature on it being the last track, I was like, they're going to go out with a bang here. And I do feel like it just kind of like let me down a little bit. But it was still such a good album that it deserves the number 3 spot for sure. But we're into the very much so business end of the spectrum here. I specifically needed to write this in my notes to make sure I preface this before we get into it. The reason, and the only reason that this, let me see exactly what I wrote, because I did literally write this down last night. If this album was released in any other period of human history, it would be number 1. It's probably the most unfortunate year for this album to be released. If this album was released last year, it would have absolutely wiped out all competition. If this album was released, do you know what? I'm hoping 2024 will be as solid, so I don't want to jinx it and say if this album was released this year, because I don't know what's to come. If this album was released any time in the past couple of years, it would wipe the floor with any other album. But just because of the albums that dropped this year, my number 2 slot for album of the year is, you've all guessed it, it's Invent Animate Heavener. I can't wait to see people be like, how is it not number 1? But there's quite a big crossover between Invent Animate and Sleep Token fans, so I think I should be alright, because they'll both agree that it should be like 1 and 2. Well, I've given away the number 1, so there you go. Fuck! You all knew it was coming anyway. How did I do that? At least the YouTube people won't know that I gave that away, because I can just cut that out. So there's like 40 people here that will just like already know what my number 1 slot is. But let's not waste any more time, lads. My number 1 album of the year, because, and again, this is why I preface this, because I was like about to sleep last night and I was like, I need to make people aware that the only reason that Heavener isn't number 1 is because of how much I loved Sleep Token's Take Me Back to Eden. Of course, it is Sleep Token, Take Me Back to Eden. Cue the clip. Why are you never... I got way louder than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, number 1 is Sleep Token, Take Me Back to Eden. No surprises. Like, I mean, if you didn't get the hint from my Song of the Year video with like 2 songs being in the top 10, and like I included every single song apart from Do You Wish That You Love Me in my honorable mentions. If it wasn't for Invent Animate Heavener and maybe Night Verses, I think the bar would have been just so like the levels from Take Me Back to Eden to, let's say, Currents or Polaris, I think is like monumental. I know you could argue that Sleep Token aren't even a metal band, you know what I mean? Like, they're like a pop rock band at this point that have sometimes got metal moments in it, but like there's a lot more pop in that album. Maybe like 50-50 at this point. So it's kind of even hard to argue that they're in like a top 10 metal list. But beyond, like before 2023 existed, in everyone's books, Sleep Token were like a progressive metal band, you know what I mean? They just had a really fucking sick pop style vocalist, but the band was very much so metal, progressive metal. But obviously they've gone down a very experimental route this year, which just felt so fresh to me and is why it is my number 1 slot. I think I'll be listening to that album for years to come. It's so goddamn good. Yeah, that was like a big part of my decision making, was obviously you can kind of like play into the noise a little bit, because the noise right now in the community that I'm involved in, I guess, or we're all involved in with the like more niche side of things, is that, you know, the noise suggests that Sleep Token are now this overrated band that have gotten too popular. You just have to look at what the general consensus is or was in the community from what I remember, but it's so hard to even remember back to before Take Me Back to Eden dropped, because in my mind, Sleep Token were this band that were like so underrated, so underappreciated, like a proper hidden gem. And it's once that band starts to get that recognition, everyone seems to just like, it feels like the general consensus is that everyone now changes their tune, and like the, you know, the tides have turned a little bit, and now it's like you're like not allowed to appreciate a band that you've loved for so many years because of how popular they've gotten, because it's now like not cool to like them. But it's just like a really weird thing that happens. Yeah, it's an interesting one though. It's been really interesting to see the public's perception and the shift, because in obviously in many ways they've gotten so popular. Well, in almost every fucking measurable aspect they've gotten so popular. They've also just gotten such a big like pile-on of people not liking them anymore. The only problem that I have with any group of fan bases is that they kind of get so tunnel visioned with how good a band is. And I understand, because again, I'm the biggest Sleep Token simp ever, but I like to think that I can see beyond my own opinions and understand that although I'm the biggest simp ever, not everyone's gonna like it. I'm not gonna ram my opinion down someone's throat or like comment some really like, not that I've received like bad comments, but just people who are like really tone deaf and don't understand that there is more opinions beyond their own. It's kind of one of those things that it's like, you'll see comments like, why is this band on the list? They absolutely destroyed everything this year. Like, why are they not? It's like, in your opinion, like that's where people get fed up with certain fans. There's a stereotype with Sleep Token fans for a reason, because naturally when there's now 3 million monthly listeners, you know, you're going to get people that are like that because it's just a bigger sample size of people. There's more people now that are listening to the band, so there's going to be more people that are available to be annoying. So like, you know, it's not just about the fan base, it's about human nature in general. If you have a band that has 100,000 monthly listeners, there's a smaller sample size of opportunity for there to be a very annoying people within 100,000 people. But if you blow that up to 3 million people, the chances are of having very annoying people in that 3 million is just getting higher. So you're just going to notice it more, is really what's all that's happening. You know what I mean? So that's really it. That's my album of the year, folks.